defends, when you don't take your shot and you drive the ball, the whole paint just collapses. And so it becomes really hard to score in the paint. There's just bodies in there. So you just have to keep, if that's what they're giving you, and then, I thought they cooled down a little bit in the second half. But we did keep shooting. I mean, I don't think there's any magic to that. I really don't. You hear that a lot, like they should do this or do that. If you're open from three, that's a really good shot. No one ever says don't take a layup, and that shot, if it's clean and open against these guys, it's probably the best shot you're going to get in a possession,
Welcome back, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce is back for another episode of Bleav in Hawks. We are back again. Coming off a loss, Hawks winning streak snapped in Oklahoma City against the Oklahoma City Thunder in a game that there's a lot actually to come out of this game and discuss on this pod today. We're going to obviously talk about the game. We're going to talk about Trae Young. That was a big topic of discussion on Hawks Twitter about Trae Young and what's going on with him. I'll give my take on his situation right now, why I'm not at all worried about Trae Young, even though I understand other people are concerned or just fed up with the fact that he hasn't produced more than he has so far this season. Also talking about AJ Griffin with Garrison Matthews playing in the last two games, give my thoughts on that situation as well. And then look ahead later into the week as the Hawks have a couple of games to end this week coming up before they go into play-in action next week. So not play-in action. In-season tournament action. Sorry. In-season tournament action next week. So we're going to talk about all that today on Bleav in Hawks. Before we get into that, guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Brycey_2K, BRICY_2K. I'll catch all my Hawks and Falcons takes there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like the video. Please show your boys some love. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Let me be part of your day. Also, if you're listening to me through Apple, Spotify, any of that, leave a review on the podcast, leave a comment. I'd love any bit of support you guys can give me in this show as we continue to grow this podcast. 10 episodes in, trying to get this to be the #1 Hawks podcast in the community. So, we're just going to keep grinding, keep putting in work. I'm going to keep bringing you guys content for all that support. So that's how we going to do things, man. But we're going to dive right into it, man. So like I said, Hawks lost tonight to the Oklahoma City Thunder in a game where it felt like the Hawks, I felt like, especially in the first half, they were never out of the game. They just didn't shoot well. And it's an 82-game season. You have those games where you just don't shoot well. And I think this was one of those games. I think this was one of those games where the Hawks just didn't shoot well in general. And for the most part, I mean, in the first half, I said I didn't feel like they played a bad defense. But overall, on the night, Hawks shot 37%. Probably not going to win a game shooting below 40%, 33% from three, which they actually made the same amount of threes as Oklahoma City, even though Oklahoma City was hot early. Free throws, 84%, 15 turnovers tonight. Again, it's funny. They're small. People see the team being small, but the Hawks won the rebounding battle 59-49 with 25 offensive rebounds. But the one thing that also came from that is the Oklahoma City had 7 blocks. I mean, that shows you that, even with the offensive rebounds, the Hawks were not able to make shots tonight, and Oklahoma City was still able to make good defensive plays to keep those buckets from going in, and that contributed to why the Hawks could really never keep up and catch up in this game to Oklahoma City and why they were able to take this game here and break the streak for the Hawks. So, overall in this game, like I said, a lot of guys didn't really play that well in this game. I think a lot of guys struggled, overall. I mean, Trae, obviously, I'm going to talk about him. Jalen Johnson probably had his first – well, it's funny. When you look at his stat line, he had 13, 12, and 5. It's not bad, but 6 of 15 is not terrible, but 0-4 from 3. It wasn't one of his best games. He had 3 steals. I mean, it was like I'm saying that wasn't one of his best games, but in the grand scheme of things, Jalen Johnson didn't play bad, if that makes sense. DeAndre Hunter was off tonight. I'm wondering with the finger issue – that's not something that just heals in a couple of days. If that's going to affect his shot for the time being, because like I said, he didn't shoot well tonight. Shot a lot of threes tonight. He was very aggressive trying to shoot threes tonight. Clearly, Quinn Snyder wanted to get an emphasis on putting up threes in this game, and I think guys were doing it, but they just didn't have it tonight. He only had 8. DeJounte came alive. in that second half. Again, DeJounte in second halves has played very well for the Hawks. He seems to get better as the game goes on, as I've mentioned before. And tonight was another example of that, finishing with 29 points, 6 of 9 from three, probably his best three-point shooting game he's had so far this season. 7 of 16 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. I mean, he really did everything he could to make this game respectable and get the Hawks back within 5-6 points at the end of when we're getting towards the end of the fourth quarter, just to make it a game and to give hope that maybe this team could get over the hump, but ultimately they couldn't and beat Oklahoma City. Clint Capella, I mean, was just an average okay night for Clint, 6 and 12. I mean, nothing crazy. He didn't really do anything out of the ordinary. Bogey had 17 off the bench. Bay had 15 off the bench. He had 32 between two bench guys, and then Okongwu had 7. Not his best offensive game tonight. He had 14 boards tonight, so he was good on the boards, but just wasn't great shooting-wise. Like I said, only had 7. But overall, you got about 39 points from your bench tonight. That's pretty decent, pretty good for a bench unit, so, and everything like that. So, I mean, you pretty much, just didn't have one of those nights where you just weren't shooting well if you're the Hawks, and it happens. And you just gotta bounce back from that. You gotta rebound from that. You just gotta, be like, all right, we didn't have a good night tonight. We'll bounce back. They got games coming up, and like I said, you're gonna have these nights in a long 82 game season. It's not something that's gonna be, not gonna happen. I mean, every team has these nights. So, and this was just the Hawks night for them to have a bad shooting night. But like I said, for the most part in this game, even with the bad shooting night, they still had a chance to win. And they still had a chance to be in the game. They just could not get over the hump in that game. And there's been times where it's like, if you watch the Hawks this season, there's games where it's like, oh, they're right there. They can just go over the hump, and they can't. But they've also, during this last 4-game winning streak, has also been able to make big plays and get over the hump, which has led to them. They've made 3 double-digit comebacks in their 4-game winning streak. So one thing the Hawks need to improve moving forward is just starting slow, because obviously you don't want to continue to be in games where you always have to come back. You always have to make this dramatic comeback. It's exciting when you watch it as a fan, but at the same time, when you lose, it's like, we're in this situation way too many times. We need to probably try to fix this, clean this up, and just try to maybe start games a little bit faster. Like I said, the only game they really started fast in was the Milwaukee game and the Charlotte game. Both of those games ended 2 different ways. Charlotte was an L, Milwaukee was a win. So if we can get more fast starts from this team, that'd probably be ideal for them, and then just continue to build off of that moving forward and trying to grow from that. So that's the biggest thing to take away from this game. I'm not really mad about this game at all. I mean, you're 4-3 right now. You're still sitting in a good position, still early in the season. You just keep battling, keep fighting, you know what I'm saying, get ready for the next game on Thursday. But I'm going to talk about Trae Young now. And he's a guy who a lot of people are concerned with. A lot of people are asking the question, what's wrong with Trae? People are asking the question, is it time to have that conversation about Trae Young? And that's because, people just feel like the Trae Young that we have seen, the 30-point-a-game guy, has not showed up this year. And people are wondering what's wrong, what's the issue, is he not him anymore? What's going on? Because he shot very inefficiently from 3 and from 2. He's shooting 20-something percent from 3 and 30-something percent from 2. Overall, he's just not having a great season from a shooting perspective. And so I want to talk about him for a minute and just talk about what I'm seeing, and you guys can chime in about what you're seeing. Because it's easy to sit here and look at him and just be like, well, he's not playing well offensively. And that's what he's known for, is his offense. So it feels like if Trae's not giving you 30, it's like, wow, he's been completely bad. And I've mentioned this before, if you listen to the last few of my podcasts about Trae, when I've mentioned him in the reviews, about Trae Young has done a really good job this year of doing other things, putting more effort in defense, trying to be disruptive. He's still getting about 10 assists a game, still getting his teammates involved, doing all the little things to try to win. And I think that's something that it's easily overlooked by a lot of people because, again, Trae was not known for that. Plus, like I said, a lot of people who watch the game just overlook those things. They just look at it as part of basketball. It's not a significant thing unless you really do know the game. And I said this on my Twitter. I said, Trae Young has had probably to make the biggest adjustment out of everyone on this team this year to the way that they're playing. Quinn has mentioned it before that thinks that both DeJounte and Trae had to make some decisions about the way they play that are uncomfortable. He admitted that the way we're playing is not maybe conducive to how they've played in the past. Now, if you look at the way they both played, it seems like DeJounte has gotten better and Trae has not played as well. But I think he is the one, Trae Young, to make the biggest adjustment to the way they play basketball now. And the reason why I say that is because you got to think about it. For the last, basically his entire career, since he came into the league, Trae Young basically been told by the Hawks, like, you are the engine of this team. We need this from you for us to have a chance. Even during the Eastern Conference final year, I mean, Trae still had to give us basically 30 and 10 for us to have a chance. And that's what stars do. They give you what you need to have a chance. This is the first year that he doesn't have to do that. Like, and what I mean by that is that, yes, you still need Trae to give you those big games, but you don't need it from him every game. The best thing for Trae right now is to give you efficient games. Remember, with his terrible shooting efficiency numbers, he's still basically averaging 20 and 10 a game. Like, people, like, think about that. We're making it seem like he's just been horrid this year, but that just shows you how we look at Trae. That 20 and 10 for him is looked at as really, really bad. Because we're so used to getting more out of him and getting better offense out of him. When I've observed his play, I feel like you can see on his floaters, it always seems like he's a little short. You know, it's almost like I don't know if he's not getting the same lift. I don't know if he's second guessing the shot. It doesn't seem like the shot, even on the threes, it feels like his threes aren't never in rhythm. It just never feels. He's more in rhythm, I feel like, when he's in a catch and shoot situation more this year than when he's trying to just create a shot, because it feels forced and it just feels like he's not shooting it the way it needs to be shot. Especially with Quinn Snyder wanting more three shot by this team, including him, I think there's that struggle there. But I think the one thing that he was really good at these previous seasons was the floater. And that's been something that hasn't been hitting this year. And I think that's impacting his numbers. And people are like, well, why can't he make a floater anymore? I said that Trae, I can tell when he plays, he thinks a lot. And I think that's what's leading to the turnovers. Like tonight, he had 7 turnovers, which is not good. But I think I get, like, his turnovers. I feel like this is the first time, like, when Trae passes a lot, guys, like, think about when you've watched Trae Young the last few seasons. He seems to just make those plays. He's like Houdini, just makes a play. When I see him operate sometimes, it comes off as that he's really thinking when he drives, especially when he drives. It's like, do I commit to shooting or do I pass? And then it feels like literally at the last second, he's always making a pass. But then the problem is that those passes are a very high difficulty level, and there's a higher chance for it to be turned over and to be intercepted by the opposing team. And tonight, with a lengthy athletic team tonight, you saw that come to fruition where it turned into more turnovers. You know, and I feel like Trae, because I think teams collapse on him when he drives into the paint, because obviously, you know, you drive and then you kick out. But it feels like some of his kickouts don't even look clean. It's like he's really having to make a split decision midair or whatever position he's in when he's driving into the paint and then having to kick it out. And I think that's what makes the turnovers happen. I think you can see when he drives in the paint and he's not making that decision quickly, teams can sometimes strip the ball from him, get a turnover. And I think that's something that just comes from him trying to learn this offense. Because Flynn has been very straightforward. He said, I either want you to shoot, pass, or drive to the rim and lay it. And I think that's and Trae Young's decision-making is such a big part of that because he's the point guard. And I think right now he's just struggling with that specifically. You know, because I think about it, we never really talked about his efficiency numbers because we won the last 4 games. But because we lost tonight and he had a bad game, we're talking about it. Because when you win, you cover that stuff isn't talked about. When you lose, okay, well, everybody's looking for reasons why you lost the game. Well, Trae Young didn't have a good game tonight, so he cost us this game. So the thing with Trae is I think he's thinking a lot because he's having to adjust his game. He's having not to be that guy who has to do everything for the team to have a chance. Because you have your running mate in DeJounte Murray. It seems like he's taken another step this season for him. You got your guys, Bogey still playing well, Bay playing well, Jalen Johnson emerging. You know, you got those guys playing well, Yuka Okongwu. So Trae don't have to. But now the challenge that Quinn Snyder has for Trae is, can you still be just as impactful on a game without scoring 35? Because listen, there's going to be some nights that Trae needs to score 35. That just depends on the game. It's a game-by-game basis. It's not the same every night. But can you impact the game by maybe just giving us 25 and 10, 24, 23 points? Because like I said, assist numbers-wise, he's still giving you 10 assists basically a game. So he's still making plays for teammates. It's just his personal scoring is what's been the issue, and that's what the struggle has been. So that question comes down to, what is the issue there? What is the issue with his shot? And I just think Trae is just trying to get comfortable and trying to figure himself out. Like, because I felt like in the beginning of the game too, he was aggressive driving the ball against Oklahoma City, but I also felt like he did a lot of passing. Like, he wasn't driving to score; he was driving to pass. And so, but at the same time, you could tell he was thinking while making those decisions, which led to turnovers. And so I think for him is that I feel like honestly, Trae's one of those guys, once he has that big game, it'll help him play more freely within the offense and just within the entire system as a whole. Because you can tell DeJounte it's like DeJounte, the way he's playing is he's kind of playing, flowing through the game. Then if the team needs it, he'll kind of like, all right, be a little bit more aggressive, be a little bit more. And he's making shots doing it. So he's playing well and being able to do it when needed. Trae has been struggling to just get himself going. Luckily, he can kick fouls. He shoots, a bunch of free throws a game, which helps him get to those numbers too. But overall, I think that Trae he needs to keep working at it. I think when he has his big game, I think he'll be okay. I said, I trust his process. Like, it really might take Trae 15, 20 games for him to get himself where we want him to be. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think this team is good enough to still be fine without him being Superman Trae, the Trae of 30 and 10 days. I think this team is good enough because Quinn Snyder has developed a system that allows everyone to try to flourish within the system. So that's how you're able to have Jalen have 20. Bay could have 15, 20. Bogey could have 20. DeAndre, if he has it, could have 20. DeJounte could have 20, 30. Okongwu could have 15, 17. So if you're getting those contributions from other guys, does Trae really need to score 30, 40 points? He doesn't. Now, obviously, when you have a night like tonight, where against Oklahoma City, nobody really can make a shot. Everybody was kind of struggling tonight, outside of DeJounte, realistically, especially in the second half. It's like, okay, we kind of wish, hey, Trae, you're the star here. You're the face of the franchise. We need you to, take us, get us there. Can you get us there? But, it's still early in the season, guys. It's only 7 games in. I feel like we overreact because we are such a reactionary society. The last thing we see is our last opinion of said person. So if Trae Young didn't have a good game, we're questioning if he's a good player. Trae Young has an elite game, we're thinking he's the best point guard in the NBA. It's literally how we are as people. It takes someone to really sit there and be like, all right, let me really dive into this and be like, all right, is Trae really regressing? Is it something else? Is he just not used to what he's doing? Is there something changing? Because like I said, you can listen to some of Quinn Snyder's science comments, man. He's made mention about him and DeJounte having to make sacrifices and changing the way they play a little bit for the team. And Trae, you can see it's impacting him in the shot. Trae just needs to get more confident when he shoots and just get better shots for himself. And I think that's something that I'm sure him and Quinn will talk about and continue to work through. I think Trae definitely believes in Quinn, and Quinn believes in Trae. You could see it in their relationship. You can see it on the sidelines. You can see it in their communication. So it's not really something I'm sitting here overly concerned about, to be honest with you. I think Trae Young will be fine in the grand scheme of things. I just think it's a matter of them just getting on the same page and then Trae just having that breakthrough game for himself to then really take himself to that next level. So I think Trae Young will ultimately be fine when it's all said and done. It may just take him a few games. It may take him the first quarter of the season. And I know for some people, they don't want to hear that, but that's just sometimes how it is. So I'm not particularly worried about Trae. Obviously, yes, you want him to play better. I want him to play better too. So I'm not at all making it seem like I'm okay with him not playing well. But I also understand what's going on with him right now and understand the situation. And so I'm not going to overreact to what's going on and then just immediately start saying, oh, maybe he's not that good. Trae Young showed everybody for the last 5 years, if you've been a fan of this team, what he can do. You remember Boston from last year. You remember the playoffs, East Conference Finals. You remember some of the big 40, 50-point games. You don't just stop being able to do that. You don't. He's still got that in him, and he'll show y'all. Trust. But now transitioning into the last topic before I let y'all guys go. So Garrison Matthews has played the last 2 games over AJ Griffin in the rotation, and that has caused a lot of concern from the Hawks fan base, asking questions like, okay, what's going on? Is Quinn not sold on AJ? Is he down on AJ? What's going on here? And I have a bit of a theory for that. I have a bit of a perspective on that about what's going on. So overall, the Hawks pretty much run an 8-man rotation from what we've seen this season. And the 9th guy gets very spotty minutes, which has been AJ in the last 2 games, has been Garrison. And people have been talking about it on Twitter. Why is AJ not getting more minutes? Someone can give up minutes for AJ to play, blah, 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 right? I think one thing a lot of people know is the Hawks probably have one of the best 8-man rotations in the league, right? I think that's pretty solidified. They do. And Quinn knows that. And I think Quinn even said it last year when he came on to the team that he wasn't going to do a 10-man rotation. He said, at best, I'll do 9. But I think after evaluating this team, if you look at the roster, AJ's kind of a 2 or 3. Garrison Matthews is kind of a 2 or 3. They both kind of play same position almost a little bit. Both kind of – AJ probably has a better overall player than Garrison Matthews. But they're both shooters. And I think to me, what Quinn is doing with that 9th person, that 9th spot, is he's experimenting with it. He did it last year when he played Garrison, he played Vic, and then he played different guys at that night at that last, like when in that situation last year was that 10th spot. And I think that if you think about it, people are talking about, cut minutes for AJ. Well, who are you going to cut minutes from? Well, DeJounte can. Why are you cutting your second best player's minutes? That doesn't make sense. He's not 35. He's in the prime of his career. You're not cutting his minutes. That makes no sense as a coach. I'm going to cut my best player's minutes. So that's not going to happen. So Hunter's your starter. He's going to get starter minutes, which is 30 minutes. So then you go to the bench. Well, Bogey's your sixth man, so you're not cutting his minutes. So the last person you can cut is Bay, but I think everybody agrees that Bay fits really well with this Quinn Snyder system and the way they want to play. And he's also basically the backup for to Jalen Johnson. So it's like, again, whose minutes are you cutting? You kind of can't cut anyone's minutes, realistically. Like what's probably going to have to happen for AJ, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but simply it's just someone will have to get hurt. And then especially if it's like a guard, probably a guard or maybe even a wing, and then he'll see more time. And I know that sucks because of what we saw last year, the expectations we have for AJ, and thinking, AJ has so much potential, and he does. He's a very talented player. He's had his struggles, but, he's barely played more than 10 minutes in a game this year, so we don't really know if he's really made improvement to his game or not. Even when I've seen him come in, he comes in, hit a couple of threes, and then you really won't see him after that. Because Quinn wants to do an 8-man rotation. And then that 9th man is just there for emergencies, injuries, foul trouble, just to give someone maybe an extra bit of a blow. That's about it. That's what the 9th spot is there, and that's what AJ is right now. Because there really is no minutes to give him. And I think right now with that 9th spot, he's just, like I said, he's just experimenting. He's like, listen, Brad Rowland talked about it. He said, honestly, I thought, if Wesley Matthews is healthy, they might be playing Wesley Matthews instead of Garrison. Because, like I said, he's not going to 10 guys. So there's only one spot left where a few players can vie for that 9th spot. And so he's just giving everybody an opportunity to kind of vie for that spot. I think we'll see AJ back in there. Garrison Matthews hasn't done anything these last couple of games to ensure that he will stay in this rotation. I don't even think he's made a shot yet. So I could be wrong, but I think realistically you'll probably have AJ get back in there. I just think he's experimenting with that spot. That 9th spot is not just set in stone, whoever that is. And like I said, I know that's tough for a lot of people because they really like AJ. And a lot of people really want AJ to thrive. And then people are thinking, is AJ about to get traded? And, everybody's going to start having their rambling speculations. But I think I'm telling you straight up what I think is going on with this team. And I just think that 9th spot is not a spot that's going to play a lot of minutes. And that's where AJ is right now. And sometimes when he wants to experiment, AJ won't play. But again, we're only 7 games into the season, guys. We'll see what happens. Playoff time, Quinn might go to just a strict 8-man rotation. A lot of teams go to an 8-man rotation in the playoffs. The rotation you've been seeing is pretty much who you're going to see in the postseason. It's not like AJ going to start playing 20 minutes in the postseason all of a sudden. The best thing for him to figure out right now is if we have issues or someone has foul trouble or someone needs to address, who can I trust to bring in as that next guy after the first 8? And he's just giving people an opportunity to show that they are worthy of getting minutes. Honestly, that's what good coaches do. You have guys who work hard. That's what I always say. Stay prepared in practice. Stay ready because you never know when your number is called. And then if you play well, shoot, coach might give you minutes after that. It's not really politics to me because I'm like, again, who are you cutting minutes? You're not cutting DeJounte's. You're not cutting DeAndre's. You're not cutting Days. You're not cutting Jalen Johnson's. Who are you cutting? You ain't cutting nobody. And DeJounte's played well the last 4 or 5 games. So it's there's no justification cutting his minutes. So who are you cutting? Bay had another good game tonight. DeAndre? You're not going to cut DeAndre's minutes. I know people are indifferent about DeAndre, but you're not cutting his minutes. He's one of our best 2-way guys. So I think, best thing I can tell everybody to do is don't panic. Calm down. Everything will be all right. No reason to worry about AJ. We'll let the season play out. You know me. I'm just going to let the season play out, man. And if we're at game 25 and AJ ain't back in the rotation, then yeah, we'll have a discussion. Okay, maybe he may be out this. He may be on the trade block. He may not. He may have favor. But until we get to that point, there's no reason to overreact. There's no reason to to go crazy. I know we want him to have a bigger impact in the game than he has, but there's no reason to go crazy, guys. Everything's going to be okay. Just trust me on that. Let's just see how this season goes, man. Like I said, they got a team got to get ready to bounce back, man. Play Orlando on Thursday and try to win that game. And then I think they play the Heat Saturday. So, they got to get ready to gear it back up again. Get ready to play some basketball. So that's the way I look at it. And then they play the Pistons and we'll be playing next week. So we're going to see what happens, guys. But very discussional Bleav in the Hawks podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Guys, leave any thoughts, definitely leave it down in the comments. Like I said, if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, listen to audio, rate the podcast. Appreciate all the support and love that you guys give to me to let me do this every day and provide you Hawks content and everything under the sun. So that's all I got for you guys. Your boy Bryce Lewis. This is Bleav on Hawks. We'll see you next time.